Hello, everybody. Today, on our third episode of AMA, Ask Me Anything, for Thoughtcast Media, we have actually three questions that have been sent in by three separate people. So, our first question is, how did you get started in the field and world of marketing?
I'll take that one if you want, Frank.
Sure.
So I sort of fell into it. I have a degree in history, and I was casting about for a job. I had done a little bit of publishing work, and where I was publishing, where I was pushing subscriptions. But I never would have thought of myself as a marketer. My next job, which lasted for I think 6 years, at that point I really thought of myself as a marketer. I was the director of marketing after maybe the first year there, and so I sort of fell into it. I mean, it works with everything that I learned in school in a sense. I'm a liberal arts guy. I can write and do enough math to stay out of trouble. And so, it's I think a great creative outlet for me at the time. I thought it was a great creative outlet for me. I mean, it's essentially sort of figuring out human nature, like how do I get people to do this thing that I want them to do? And so it really fit with my education. Although if you had told me when I was in school that I was going to end up in the marketing world, I would have told you you're crazy. But so, just sort of fell into it and all sort of clicked, and I've never looked back. I've been in marketing now for over 30 years.
I also kind of fell into it, I guess. I was I think 8th grade. There was like a school book fair, and I picked up I wish I remember what the title was so I could maybe buy it again, but building websites for kids or something like that. Which was just basically like HTML stuff. And this was in the days of like GeoCities and AngelFire and all those free hosting platforms. And I kind of just got the bug, started creating, fan sites for video games, and like my group of friends, like we needed a website for some reason. I eventually learned that I'm a pretty terrible designer. So never quite stuck with the web design side of things, but I got the bug and wanted to keep creating stuff. And, eventually I got the idea that I could maybe make some money with these skills. At which point I got into content writing and then later copywriting. And,
And you're still really in high school at this point, right?
Yeah. This was like senior year, junior year, maybe. Mm-hmm. And started getting more into like you said, the psychology of kind of persuading people. And went on from there. And, in trying to support my copywriting business, I had to learn a lot about marketing a business. So that's kind of where it all snowballed into one discipline, I guess.
Those are all great answers. I guess you could say for myself, I am actually just getting started in marketing this summer, but I did take a class about PR and writing in those steps and writing in regards to marketing and advertising. So it was definitely really interesting to apply it towards this. Sorry for the dogs.
Right. So we haven't turned you away from marketing yet, huh?
No, you have not.
If you can survive us, you can probably survive anything. That's good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Our second question is from Dinesh, and he asked, what have you found to be the best tools for reporting on marketing and performance?
Frank, that's all about you.
Yeah, we've actually gone through a couple changes in that regard here. It really depends on what you need to report on. If you're just doing web analytics, kind of, website performance, Google Analytics usually is enough to report on things or, have a dashboard for yourself. With custom dashboards, you can kind of pick and choose what metrics you want to report on, and that makes things a lot easier if you're talking about reporting to a client or your boss or something. Um, and that way you can focus on important KPIs. There's also, if you have some more data sources that you're trying to combine into one report, Google Data Studio is good, complicated, a little bit of a learning curve to get started with, but very versatile and free. I think entirely free. There might be some paid functions, but I've never had a need to use them. And that's, you know, a lot of manual building and filtering of data, which again can get complicated. And then there's better reporting tools, you know, kind of built for you reporting tools. Earlier this year, we purchased access to a tool called Raven Tools, which was really handy for us when we first started using it. It also comes bundled with some SEO, like keyword research tools and things like that, which was nice to have that all in one place. But that was kind of lacking for us. You know, it didn't have active campaign integration, it didn't have HubSpot integration, and other popular, Instagram was another one. And you could, of course, pull those in if you were able to download the data from those different sources, but it just wasn't as easy as we had hoped to use. So now we're using Agency Analytics. I don't know, Dinesh, if you're, you know, from an agency perspective or just working for your own company or what, but it can be used for any of those situations, and it has many more integrations than Raven Tools. And it's really easy to plug in all those different data sources and get a really easy digestible dashboard, which you guys have seen a little bit of on our morning meetings. Yeah.
Well, I would say I can't weigh in on the difference between the different packages, but the need for a tool like this is paramount. You know, there's a lot of, especially for us, if you've got multiple clients, trying to figure all that stuff out and trying to pour over, you know, spreadsheets, that's just not the way to go. So the money that you spend, and we don't spend much. What are we spending now, Frank, on the tool that we have?
I think it's like, shoot, I don't remember. I want to say like $45 a month.
Yeah, so that's going to save you 10 hours. Maybe
Yeah, we
12
were doing
hours.
spreadsheets, you know, just in Excel and kind of pulling data, copying and pasting data into the spreadsheet. And yeah, that was many hours every month for each client. And now all that time can be spent elsewhere.
For our third question, we have a list of about 3,000 email leads that we haven't contacted yet. How would you say is the best way to engage with these people?
Interesting
Right.
question. So there's a couple things you, I guess, want to weigh against each other. I mean, the most important thing is that you, you know, re-engage as many of them as possible. You know, get them interested enough to, you know, open your next email or, you know, visit your website so you can retarget them or whatever your, you know, KPIs are for this email list. You obviously want to prioritize that, but you also want to be wary of tarnishing your mailing IP. I don't know if that's correct terminology, but you know, wherever you're mailing from has a reputation that is maintained by all these different indexes that are trying to filter out spam. You know, I think there's a lot of third-party ones that a lot of mail inboxes, I guess, use. And then, of course, like Outlook and Google and all the big players maintain their own algorithms to filter out spam. So, you know, you might think, you know, why not just send all 3,000 of them, you know, 5 emails over the next week and see, you know, if you can get a huge chunk of them to respond in some way. But if you're not getting great open rates, if people are marking it as spam and other like indicators that spam filters might pick up on, you could be permanently tarnishing the reputation of your mailing domain.
So I have a question. Are these, is this a house list or is this like a purchased list or do we not know? It said leads. It said leads, right? So,
email leads.
okay. So
Yeah.
presumably this is not the first time they've contacted them. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I guess I was assuming that these are people who are relatively cold now, whether or not they've been contacted or
Okay, okay.
not. Yeah, it's an interesting factor. Um, but yeah, so you want to be careful about wearing out your mailing address reputation. Um, so I think the important thing, the best way to approach this would be to highly segment that list. I don't know what data you have on each of those contacts, but try to batch them up as much as possible and then really speak to that segment of the audience. So I don't know, they might be, different types of companies or industries. I assume this is B2B as well. I hope so, because B2C, I can't really help much. But yeah, so I think it'd be best to, so you want to segment in two ways. Segment first to make sure that the message you're sending these people is resonating and is likely to get a higher response rate, rather than just trying to blast everyone with the same message. Obviously, that's going to dilute your response. But also you want to be able to quickly segment the people who are responsive. So in subsequent mailings, you have a list of 3,000. On the second round of emails, you can hopefully just send to the, let's say, this is very optimistic, the 2,000 people who opened or clicked something. And that way, you're just increasing your chance that you're going to send some signals to the spam filters that, you're not just spamming a bunch of people. And I think you want to keep doing that over time so that you're mailing a smaller and smaller group of people. So again, you're not tarnishing your reputation over time, and also increasing your response rate as you go.
So I'm going to take a more optimistic approach to this. I'm going to assume that it is a house list. In other words, people on this list have reached out to you. They know who you are. They're not going to be freaked out. They're not going to think your mail is spam. They might not want it anymore, but they're not going to be aggressively offended by your email. And what I would recommend is that you set up sort of a drip campaign sort of thing, whereby you set up a sequence of emails, and you send groups of these people through the emails. So one a week, let's say, or one every 2 weeks. And then based on whether or not people open that email, or click on something, then you have a way of running those people through a separate sequence. So you're constantly filtering out the people who are the most engaged by clicking on something. The next email they get is not going to be the second email on that list. It's going to be a deeper email with a more valuable call to action. And I just run those people through it. And I think the first thing I'd say is, if you have a list of 3,000 that came in that way, shame on you for not mailing them earlier. And you want to make sure that you're now going to resolve to send people through this sequence as they come in, for the next 6 months or so. So as people write to you, as people click on things, as people leave their name to download this or that or the other thing, they go into this sequence. And you'll be able to, shortly after a short period of time, you're starting with 3,000 names. I don't know how many names these people get on a regular basis, whoever asked the question. But you could very well have 5,000 names running through something like that. For a small business, that would not be unusual. And the ability to really make some good decisions based on data on what emails are working in terms of first clicks, and then after people click, getting them to open rather, and then getting them to click through. So 5,000 names is a nice data set, and you could make some pretty smart data decisions about what email to send people subsequently.
Yeah, it's a good point. The spam algorithms, it's a ratio thing. So if you are sending more to the responsive people and less to the less responsive people, then your reputation's pretty safe as far as mailing goes. And I can't remember what exactly you said, but about, kind of re-engaging those people in a sequence. It's maybe a good idea to start that effort by including some kind of survey in your email. So again, to my earlier point, you can quickly segment people, and you might have a list of 3,000 people and have no idea what their intent is. If you can get an idea of what that is, again, you can speak to those concerns and needs, and improve your response rate over time.
So that last question was from Nikki, and she was talking about how to contact people that have, that she needs to get in contact with. However, I have a question regarding how people should contact you. What would be the best way for people or potential customers and clients to contact a business?
Huh.
So the number one way is your website, right? Which should have a button that says contact, and that gives you a way to do that. Plus, websites should have, well, I guess it's controversial. Our website, we don't have many of them, but we do have pop-ups that say, if you'd like to continue reading news from us, give us your email address, and a variety of different ways like that. So I think those are probably the two main ways, right?
Yeah, I think nowadays, people have very wildly varying expectations of how they want to communicate with people. So I think, it's generally a good idea to give as many options as possible. Let people DM you on Instagram, let people, call, use your chat bot. You just want to give people options, depending on their level of comfort in contacting you. As to your remark about pop-ups, I can't speak to like the long-term, value of pop-ups versus not using pop-ups, but I've seen very few instances where pop-ups don't result in a higher conversion rate. Just a side note.
And
Some people hate them though. I will say that. It's like the designated hitter rule in baseball. Some people just can't stand it.
Right. And for all I know, the people who can't stand them are the most likely to spend money on something. Again, I can't speak to the ROI, but as far as raw conversions, they work.
Now, we did mention our website, which we actually just redesigned, so you can go check that out, thoughtcastmedia.tv. There's a few new graphics, it's been laid out, looks great. And our last question is actually about social media, as you mentioned before, with Instagramming and DMing. Is posting to 3 social platforms 3 to 4 times a day too much? Kay asked that question.
I'll jump on that first. So this is fresh in my memory. I guess today's Wednesday. Yeah. So Tuesday we had a group that we convened called Marketers Drinking Beer, and one person put it very succinctly. If you're trying to demonstrate to the world that you're a competent, active business, then you need to have some sort of regular posting on social media. You need a presence there, because people will frequently go and check you out. So if somebody says, gee, I wonder who this company is, and they go onto LinkedIn and they look at the company, and you haven't posted anything since 2017, it's like, kind of sleepy. And that does not bode well. So you need sort of a regular presence there. But algorithms have changed, and we saw a huge change in the Facebook algorithm, I guess around 2017, I'm thinking, where you're just not going to drive a lot of business unless you advertise. So the person who brought this up is fond of the saying, look, you have to demystify social media. It's media, and the way you get traction on media in most cases is with advertising. So we know this, and we understand that it's hard to take. There's that glimmer of hope that you'll produce this great content, and people will read the content and they'll want to get in touch with you and so forth. Just to finish that thought, it's generally not true. I think if you have a competent presence and an updated presence on social media. It doesn't turn people off, and maybe gets people to go, okay, they've people are active. They've got something to say. But in terms of actually driving leads, it's really hard without advertising. We've had, for us, the most success we've had is with video on LinkedIn, organic video. And I don't, like, nobody responds to, I don't have a CTA in there, like click here to get pricing, but I do get calls from people who see my videos on LinkedIn and say, hey, I was watching your video about this, that, or the other thing. What can you tell me about this, that, and the other thing? So it's a lot of work, but it does drive engagement, and that means that our name is getting out there. So we've got a sort of a, an impressions game that we're running that's positive, and it does actually get people to call, but it's kind of indirect. So you just have to sort of figure out what sort of content you have and how well it's going to play. But I think in general, if you think of having a competent social presence as one level for not turning people away, but then advertising as a way of getting people to actually convert.
Yeah, I think the question asker is concerned about posting too much across various channels. I think, as far as posting across channels, it's not a concern. Not everyone's going to be following you on every channel, for one. But I think generally people understand that, if you're posting on Instagram, you might also be posting the exact same stuff to Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So again, I don't think that's a concern. As far as, I don't think there's any problem with posting to social media a lot, as long as the content is good. If you're just throwing junk up there all day, retweeting things without comments, people could see that as spammy, I think, or, just a waste of their time, really. They follow you if you show up in their feed 5 times in one day, which, probably won't ever happen with most of the social algorithms out there. But, if you were to show up too many times in someone's feed with just low quality content, that is an issue. But I think as long as you're publishing good stuff that deserves to be up there, I don't think it's a concern.
Yeah, I would say, though, I think the question the question was 3 to 4 times a day, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I do think that's a little excessive. And I would say that if you've got the time to post like that, good quality content, you should probably be spending that time elsewhere. I just don't think organic social content is what it used to be.
Yeah. So, it depends on what their audience is now. If they're trying to build up an audience, without putting advertising dollars behind it, it's going to be really hard. Not impossible, but hard. But if you have a large audience, especially with how quickly these algorithms move, like the feeds change, if you post something at 9 o'clock in the morning, by the time someone's on their lunch break, they might not ever see that post surface. Yes, again, it depends on your business. You could say that your time could be better spent elsewhere, but if your audience is on Instagram, then your audience is on Instagram.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
The dogs think so. The dogs like that, Frank. They agree with you.
Usually, yeah. Usually they're a little more quiet. Today they decide not to be.
That's all right. Dogs is dogs.
So, with that, I actually was wondering, and multiple perspectives are great. With posting to social media, does it always have to be business related, or can it just be random content, or does it have to be just you have to push out something onto your social media feed for it to be part of the algorithm?
I think that's a question for you, Brooke. What have you been doing lately? You're running our social media stuff, right?
Yeah. So
what's your thought on that?
Yeah. So for me personally, I think, it really just depends what you're doing and, what your business is. But I think throwing out a few random things every once in a while can actually attract more people. The other day we actually had a debate over onion rings and eclairs. because it was National Onion Rings Day and National Chocolate Eclairs Day. And we posted about both of them.
Just out of curiosity, which post did better? Remind me, I can't remember.
Yeah, Chocolate Eclairs did win.
Yeah, who thought that was the winner?
It was not a scientific study.
It was not posted to both accounts, so we do not have an accurate vote.
Uh-huh.
However, Eclairs did win. Onion rings was a close second. But I mean, I was team onion ring.
Yeah. Team
but I guess we'll have to do a poll next time, see who
That's
actually
right.
wins.
But I actually, we're joking around here, but yeah, I think that was your doing, frankly, and I think we have a lot of we've gotten a lot of nice things from that. Like it's National Give Somebody a Hug Day, and you do a bit of kit, which is pictures of our various video equipment, and then you do the sort of the fun day Friday stuff, and we're getting pretty much as many clicks on stuff like that as we are on the business related stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in answer to your question, it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I think it's all about how people use the platforms. Some people might be using Instagram to keep up on the latest blog posts from their favorite companies, but most of them are just interested in the people and stuff behind those companies. So,
right.
The most successful B2B, just speaking to Instagram, most successful B2B Instagram profiles, they're all just photos of employees, taking seminars together or going to happy hour or, the dogs that are in the office that day. It's all behind the scenes personal stuff and, not always, check out our latest blog post on XYZ.
As opposed to LinkedIn where, celebrate National Chocolate Eclair Day would not have gone over well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you think? I don't think I'd have a hard time posting that, but maybe.
I think it really also just depends on the platform you're posting on as well. Like you're clearly going to post more business related content on LinkedIn versus Instagram, where we did post about onion rings and eclairs and cute pictures of dogs watching videos because they think they're really awesome.
They were watching our videos. That's business. See?
Oh, that's definitely business. They were watching business-related videos about content pillars.
Right.
I love SEO.
They really do. They love to learn more.